future. No more corruption. Oh, no more oppression. No more division. From Essequibo to Berbais, from Demerara to Letem. One people, one nation, one destiny. Guyana arise, Guyana arise. Open your eyes, no more disguise. Stand as one and claim your rights. Jaguar spirit, rise tonight. Guyana arise, Guyana arise. No more thieves beneath your skies. Take back your land, your wealth, your pride. United we stand, side by side. Hey, too long we suffer while riches flow. Too much pain the people know. Gold in the earth, oil in the sea. Yet poverty still grips destiny. Foreign powers claim our ground, while true sons struggle all around. Landlords must be Guyanese, not strangers ruling with hidden keys. Our soil is sacred, our wealth is ours, not for corruption or foreign powers. Rise up now and understand, this blessed nation is our land. No more racial divide, break every chain. Black, brown, indigenous, rise again. Stand up united, stand up strong. Together as one is where we belong. Guyana rise, Guyana arise. Open your eyes, no more disguise. Stand as one and claim your rights. Jaguar spirit, rise tonight. Hey, 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 yeah. No race must break what God has made. No fear must keep our people enslaved. African, Indian, Amerindian too. One Guyana belongs to you. Foreign greed can't own our fate. We must control our golden gate. From riverbanks to mountain high, let Guyanese landlords now rise. Take back power, take back voice. National unity is the choice. Corrupt leadership must fall away. The people's dawn begins today. Who owns the land? We do. Who owns the oil? We do. Hey, who owns the gold? We do. Hey, who must unite? We do. Then rise together. Rise, rise, rise. Guyana arise, Guyana arise.
Hello, Guyana. Thank you for joining me again on another program of Guyana Rise. I am so excited tonight to bring to you this very frank and open discussions. I will be very forthright in saying that I feel a sense of resistance. And that spirit of resistance I have been feeling for quite some time. And maybe I can contribute this type of feeling to the book, The Art of Martin Carter. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to read this book. This is my second read of this book. And I can tell you what caught my attention. What caught my attention is the theme of the book. And the theme of the book says, all are involved. All are involved. That phrase resonates with me most profoundly because it tells me that the Guyana that we want to build is not a Guyana that requires one person, one group, one particular organization, one political party to advance its cause. It requires all Guyanese, all Guyanese. And I believe that is why Guyana Rise and the involvement of all Guyanese kind of remained my mantra, kind of remained my theme, kind of remained my motivation for just advancing the cause of this program. Because I believe that when we all come together, we are stronger. And I have been saying repeatedly, the reason why we have been so defeated in so many different areas in Guyana, and I will examine a few tonight, is because we have demonstrated that we are not united as a people to confront the issues. Many people have asked the question, why is it that Guyana has to be, and Guyana has to be going through all the levels of things? I mean, and we don't want to underestimate at all the magnitude of corruption going on in Guyana. And some people have inquired, why is it that we have not put a stop to the corruption? And I've said in my answer that I believe one of the most foundational points why we have not been able to put a stop to it is because we're divided. And everyone stays in his or her corner and are only concerned with the things that are concerning to them. And the way in which we have defined what is really concerning to us, as opposed to what is the concerns to other people. We have not seen a commonality. We have not seen unity. We have not seen togetherness on this. Martin Carter was one of the most, the word I want to use is pathetic. He was one of the most pathetic poet, I would think. And he embraced poetry in his many writings and in his many speeches. There were so many of truth that has been spoken. And I want to begin by reading one of his favorite quotes, a poem. And this was a poem on resistance. And I'll tell you where I'm getting with this and how important it is for our discussion tonight. The two voices of Martin Carter in his poems published between 1951 and 1955. One is aware of the two voices and, of course, the complex images that he envisioned. And he wrote a poem and titled it Poems of Resistance. Let me read this one for you. You will love it the way I do love it. And I quote, if I do not live to see that day, my son will see it. And if he does not see that day, his son will see it. And it will come circling the world like fire. It will come to this land and every land. And when it comes, I will come alive again and laugh again and walk out of this prison. Woo! Have you imagined from the beginning the type of thinking of one man who saw resistance as the foundation for life and living. Can you not recognize that there was a man who understood clearly that you cannot sit by, allow everything that is wrong going on beside you, and turn a blind eye? More importantly, do you not recognize that intrinsic inside of that man lies, and he put it out there in words, that you should never live in fear? Why am I saying this? As I walk through the communities and as I interact with many Guyanese, many people are living in fear. Many people are seeing what is happening in Guyana. Many people are counting the number of injustices in every corner. But there is a fear that has gripped their hearts, that has said to them, you cannot say nothing. That has said to them, I don't want to say anything even though injustices stands at my door, even though injustices is knocking on my community, even though injustices is what I wake up and what I live in every single day. I don't want to say anything because I am fearful. Fear kills. And one of the things that I have said that we cannot allow to happen is that we cannot exist in a generation where we become so fearful of the PPPC or any other operative that we refuse to stand up and continue to put our voice, our hands, our feet, our energy, our motive, our intentions, bring them all together and stand up for a change. I want you at the end of this program to begin to ask yourselves, by doing an introspection of what type of contribution am I making to Guyana? I want you to ask yourself the most interrogating question. Am I really building this nation by remaining silent? Or am I, by my silence, crippling the longevity, the sustainability, and the profitability of this beautiful nation for future generations because I fail to act? May we allow ourselves to be like Martin Carter and say to ourselves, I will not die. I will not die. The work that I will do, the work that I will begin to do, and this is a clear call for Guyanese in all across our land, in all across the diaspora. This is a call for Guyanese. Once you have the Guyanese blood which runs through your vein, I want you to begin to say, I cannot remain silent. I have to get up and contribute to this nation. You cannot die. And as the poet says of resistance by Martin Carter, that even if you don't see the day, you're working towards seeing a better day in Guyana. If you don't see the day, your son will, your daughter will. And if they don't see it, their children will. And it will come around like a circle of fire. And when it comes around, you will laugh. Why? Because you will come alive. It means that the work that you have put in the ground, what you have been doing, will live. And that is what we talk about when we talk about standing for something. That is what we talk about. Too many Guyanese across this beautiful land have become too sheepish, have become too intimidated, have become too silent, and have allowed too much of nonsense to be taking place in our society. Too many Guyanese. When I started first line or front line politics, one of the things that hit me like a ton of brick is the fact that politicians do stand alone. And when I recognize, and I want to start my first discussion on the issue of recognizing those people who have remained in politics for over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I recall and I stand in contribution and in acknowledgement and respect to our comrade leader, Comrade Aubrey Compton Norton. That man must be commended for being and staying in politics for so many years. It is not easy. It is not easy fighting. And while some of you think that he has not and is not doing a good job, others equally are saying the stamina, the work, and the contribution is worth something. Everybody putting their hands to the wheel is worth something. And so while you talk about what has not been done and what the leader is not doing, why don't you stand up and say to yourself, I will join in fighting. Some of you stay on the sidelines and have become the most vocal critic while doing nothing. And some of you have said, I will stay on the sidelines and I will say nothing. So I'm contributing. Both sides, if you put them together, you can come to the same conclusion that you are not contributing to the development of this country. You are not working to ensure that there is betterment in this country. Why don't you change your posture? Why don't you change your language? Why don't you stop saying it ain't happening, it cannot? Why don't you say, I don't like this, I don't like the leader face, I don't like the leader drinking, I don't like the leader this, I don't like oh my gosh. Why don't you stop I don't like? And why don't you fit yourself in the bracket of I am a servant of this country and therefore I will come and make myself available to serve? It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. You don't have to be in frontline politics to serve. I am not saying that every single individual must be in politics, but you must be a servant of your country. And therefore, you as a Strout, a shareholder, you must take on a responsibility for steering this country in the way it should go. Therefore, I have come to the most important point in this regard. in saying, why do you sit by and allow so many injustices to be happening in this country? Why is it when you see injustices happening in all courts and all corners, why is it that some of you are afraid to come out? Why? Why is it that you think that because of the fact that you want to secure your job, you want to ensure that the PPP, they don't come after you, so you say nothing? How can you live a progressive life? How can you develop your country like that? Why not stand up against them and to say, listen, me standing up for my rights, me standing up for my country is not only about me, it is about the generations that I am now in this present times taking a stand so that they can benefit. Have you not recognized how far indebted Guyana is? Have you not recognized that if you have 100% profit in your own minerals in this country, you might very well only benefit from a meager 3 or 2? Have you not recognized that Guyana, which is proclaimed to be such a blessed nation, where the riches and the resources of this country are boundless? We are a chaste country, but still remain one of the poorest countries in the hemisphere, where poverty is over 50% of our population. And the people who are, I don't know if to describe them as in the poverty line, but they are struggling so much. They're struggling so much that they cannot see and cannot even fathom how they're going to get through a day. While we sit on resources, we are reading papers every day. We are seeing various headlines. We have leaders who are in the field. We have our members of parliament who are highlighting the amount of, I looked at Comrade Sherrod Duncan and Vince Roy Jordan going up all the way and looking to see you, the Guyanese, who have spent over 500 million, coming close to $1 trillion in this economy by now. You have millions of dollars invested in a hospital. I never thought the day will come when another national will tell us that we cannot stand on our own grounds. And Guyanese are taking that lightly. Guyanese are taking that lightly, that a foreign national must come and say to members of parliament, you cannot be here. Wait on your time to come here. You cannot be here. Hi. I have traveled to a few African countries, and I do love the continent. I have traveled to maybe all the CARICOM countries. I have traveled to the north. And you can begin to go and tell one of the born nationals there, you can't be there. Guyanese, wake up, man. Wake up. The mere resistance of allowing the nationals, people who belong there, to be able to observe and scrutinize what is happening of your money should be an outrage. The public should be an outrage. This is what we need to be seeing pelting all over social media. These are the conversations that we must be having in the minibuses. These are the conversations that we must be having in the cars. The fear of Guyanese becoming second-class citizens in your own land. Have you not awakened? Have you not awakened to the issues of how many people who have their little businesses, their little sweetie shops, their little stands in the community are struggling? Walk tomorrow and just have a normal conversation. This has nothing to do with politics. Just have a normal conversation with the people who are running their businesses. And they will tell you that the Chinese supermarkets all across those communities have totally crippled their ability to do successful business. What are we doing? What have we done as a society, as a country, to stand up and say to this wicked, senseless, incompetent government that you're not leading this government properly? Many of you recognize that there are limitations in relation to the parliament. There are only so much that parliamentarians on the opposition side can say and do. There's only so much. There is nothing. And I want to bring this, if I am never clear, I want to be the clearest tonight. There is absolutely no contribution that will be accepted in the National Assembly by the opposition. We don't have the numbers, and all that you will see happening in Parliament, it is going to be just the motion. You're just going through the motion. Government, the PPPC government, is not a government which has demonstrated by its approach, by its philosophy, by its accommodation, that they are willing to have an inclusion in relation to ideas and support in order for this country to be built. Building of Guyana is only through the eyes of the PPPC. And we have constantly seen that the PPPC's management and stewardship of this country has only caused more and more wastage. Wastage. Just look at what we have been building. Roads, hospitals, schools. Just look what we've been building. How many of those are worth the type of monies that we're spending? One citizen spoke to me yesterday, and it felt quite good, him addressing me as Comrade Todd. He said, Comrade Todd. And I laughed. I said, speak to me, my brother. He said, you know, one of the things that concerns me is that how is it that our young people didn't recognize all this contract being shared out before elections on building of drain? You got drain work, little drain contract here, little drain contract here. And when you look in all the communities, people were just rejoicing. Well, I got a little contract here, I got a little road contract here, I got a little drain cleaning contract here. How come that they didn't recognize that that was a political stunt? After elections, I can tell you particularly for the communities that I am involved in. This is him speaking. That they don't have those contracts no more. None of them are getting work. Small contracts stop sharing. What you find when you go into certain communities which are predominantly PPP support and of a particular color or a particular ethnicity, I must say, they have a lot of excavating contracts. And many of them, when you look at them, which is something we have to do an investigation about. Because he said, when you look at some of them, these were ordinary guys of a particular ethnicity that were just riding bicycles. But the people who look like me and you are not owners of those massive excavators and so on that move it around. And I'm like, he said, it's something to look in. There's somewhere in which they have empowered their own people to be able to acquire. And all those other youngsters who look like us, who have been running around for those little contracts and thinking that that stunt was going to be sustainable, they have no contract. And many of them, just in Lepo Street alone, he was giving me some instances where the people are bitter now, and they're totally sorry that they didn't put their vote where it would have really mattered. And if you look at it, persons have only now, when they want to be able to raise an argument, they're only now looking at the manifesto presented by the APNU. And they recognize what was being offered through an Aubrey Norton administration would have surpassed 100% what they're getting on in the PPP. They're saying clearly a lot of people missed it. What are some of the challenges? It goes back to what a lot of the reports in relation to the elections. We met a few days ago with the Carter Center, along with our leader. And one of the things that was that goes throughout the reports in relation to the general and regional elections for 2025 is that many of the observers formed the opinion that the elections was an orderly one. It was free from many instances which would have tended to disrupt the process. But when you look at the recommendations and you go deeper into the analysis of the elections, you would recognize that they all have a common conclusion, that it was not fair. When you look at the use of social media, when you look at the use of state medias, everything sold only the PPP's ideas, but robbed the country an opportunity to equally see what was being offered across the board. We must stand up against that. Then we went to the issue of spending. All observers went down the similar line of calling for there to be changes in the legislation which will control election spending. when you have a government that sits with the largest budget in the history of Guyana, when they are using the resources of this country, the financial resources of this country, to sell their own ideas. Let me tell you something. There was a clear, I don't know how many of you follow global politics, but there are some very, and I'm not talking about these want-to-be critics in Guyana who believe that they're political scientists. Some of them absolutely, you want to know where really they are, where they're getting their information from to analyze, and they make wild comments. You have to look at some of the real established political analysts. And when you look at when they talk about this issue of a government where there is little control over their spending power, where they absolutely have no accountability, coming up to elections, what they do is spend out the money. They empower their people, they spend the money, and then when they get in power, and when you look at it, it is just what the PPP is doing. When they get in power, it is time to regroup and to recoup what they have spent. So that is why you have a cycle of corruption going on. That is why you have a cycle of only certain amount of people who will remain with large contracts. That is why you will have them. Because why? They are able to pull their resources, and so it is a covenant which says, when we get in power, you got to get back double, triple what you have spent. That is why you have corruption. That is why when you think that is an equal platform which allows anyone to be able to tender and to be able to get the big jobs. Listen, some of the initiatives that I foresee Guyana being a better place must start doing is we have to firstly reduce the amount of foreign workers which are taking over certain jobs. Major companies coming in. I see Kaitro News, I think it was just 2 days ago, is talking about the bank which is funding the gas to shore project. It's been funded by Venezuelans who are owners. Isn't that listen, we are allowing these things to slip over our heads and not recognizing that we have to call on government to account. We have to call on government to come clear and to make public who are the people backing various things, because we are jeopardizing the longevity and the stability of this beautiful nation. We must not be carried away with the environment in which we exist, which only highlights problems. Moving around, highlighting. Someone was doing a comparison the other day between what Comrade Aubrey Norton did as an opposition leader versus what Mohammed is doing now as opposition leader. And I said, well, tell me the difference. I am still waiting for them to critically tell me the difference. He is highlighting He is highlighting corruption. Did the former opposition leader highlighted corruptions? He was highlighting corruptions too. You will only see a difference if you are telling me he is stopping the corruption. And you must say to us, what has he done to stop the corruption? And that is the naked truth that we have to be able to understand as Guyanese. The same challenges that the opposition faced after 2020 is the same challenges that are now being faced. That we have not been able to truly sensitize and to motivate people, Guyanese, enough to let them know that your responsibility is higher than just going to bed at night, waking up in the morning, going to work, coming back home, and just closing your door to what is happening in this country. You ask how we'll be able to stop this corruption. I will tell you, when we stand up all together, demonstrate dumb tools, and say we will not allow an ordinary day anymore in Guyana until things have been changed. When there is a call to mobilize, when there is a call to come out and stand up for a cause, we must do so. Can you imagine one of the most important things which has to do with our democracy we have never been united on? That is why the PPP has run a mockery of us in Guyana. Aubrey Compton Norton stood outside of GECOM for over 3 years, calling every single Tuesday, calling for biometrics, calling for there to be a total shift in the electoral process in this country, which will see a free and fair elections. Look at the crowd that we had. Not one day. Now that Win takes over the seat of opposition leader, it must be their fight to lead, and we will join in support of calling for biometrics and the change of the electoral system in this country. Not running after and writing and putting up names for new commissioners. Listen, we have said clearly from our party's perspective that there exists no vacancy in GECOM. None of our commissioners, none of them have vacated that office. Therefore, you can't appoint no one. You can't appoint no one. And one of the only reasons we will not go in depth tonight, because my senior, Dr. Hines, tonight is having a program with the issues of GECOM, and I believe he has Mr. Vincent Alexander. But I will say to you, Mr. Vincent Alexander, Mr. Corbin, Mr. Trump, every commissioner that sits in GECOM does not belong to a political party. So as Guyanese, we must stop this nonsensical thinking. And when Win comes around with that shallow thinking and talking, put them in context. Let them know when we change the constitution. We changed the constitution, and the reflection of the 2000 constitution says that the commission is a permanent and independent commission. Therefore, they don't represent a party. They might have been nominated through the process by party, but by virtue when they receive and take their oath and they receive that credential as a commissioner of GECOM, they no longer belong to a party. APNU has absolutely no representative in GECOM by law. By law. And I want to know, I listen to some of the professedly legal people talk. And I'm saying, but I don't understand what they are really saying to the Guyanese people. They are attempting to take us back to the olden days. That is how the olden days, that is how it was, where parties nominate and have their representative in GECOM. It was a recommendation from the Carter Center that you can never see if the people who sit in GECOM all hold an alliance to a political party, you will never get them to work honestly. And that is why a recommendation came that there should be a change in the law, in the constitution. There was constitutional and changes that made the commission a permanent commission. We don't have no control over the members in the commission, the commissioners there. None. So when we hear this type of argument that the commission must now reflect the new dynamics of the changes in the opposition, I want to know what level of nonsensical thinking is that? What changes? So if you are saying that we must have such an unstable commission responsible for the registration of our people in this country, responsible for an election, we must have such so that every man who sits as a commissioner there must think that if the party comes out that they're gone to, that is how unstable they're going to make GECOM. What if Win is not in 2030 opposition leader, and then a new party? Are we saying that we're going to remove them? Politics is a thing that changes. If we keep moving and using politics today, you might be at the front of the line. Tomorrow you might be second in the line. You might be second in the line tomorrow. You might be third in the line. You might be fourth in the line. It changes. You cannot have an institution as that of GECOM to have that level of uncertainty. Therefore, the law is clear as to in relation to how they are nominated and how you can remove them. There's no middle ground in relation to how you can remove them. And they cannot be removed by you naming, and then you write notifying GECOM's chair that by a particular date you are going to have our nominees. What level of GECOM's chair? And on to now, and this is why I'm disappointed. Well, maybe because they don't have a legal officer there that can write back the leader of the opposition. GECOM's chair has no power to nominate any commissioner. That is outside of our powers. She has no locus standi in that. She has no power to do that. And yet no one says that you can't write, makes no sense writing GECOM. Because GECOM can't do it. It's nomination and the appointment is done by the president. And as the president has to, you can't have, I don't know what type of chaos we're going to have, because the president has no power to revoke the appointment of a commissioner, has no power to revoke it, unless it is clearly within the confines of the law. So we must stop all this level of misinformation going out there to the public. And we must begin to attack the real issues of GECOM. And the real issues of GECOM has a lot to do with the PPPC. The real troubles in GECOM has to do with our electoral system. The real troubles in GECOM has to do with a clean voters list. The real troubles in GECOM has to do with our voting method that can no longer be tolerated. We have to get biometrics if we are to see a proper and fair election in this country. Look at the amount of irregularities and impersonation that took place in the 2025 elections. The numbers are there. But no Guyanese is taking time to read this. And we cannot no longer turn a blind eye. And that is why I'm saying we must identify some of the main causes in our country, and we must hold together. And what we must hold together with, like Martin Carter, is to see that our electoral system is changed. We are getting ready, and I encourage all political parties in the opposition, are in parliament and out of parliament, that we must come together and we must begin to see through massive demonstration that our electoral system must change. We should not go to a local government election using the same methods. The complaint of the GECOM's chair that the time period was too short, that we couldn't get biometrics. Ghana, a country in the continent of Africa, was able, and they have millions, their population are millions of people, and they were able to implement biometrics in 6 months. 6 months. We admit 1 million people in our voting list on our population, and we can't get biometrics. That was the complaint in 2025. Therefore, what are the steps to immediately? And I thought that those would be the most important things that a new opposition is going to tackle. That there has been the passing. That is what, moving from one opposition leader to another opposition leader. It is like a relay. The baton was passed on to another person. Therefore, you are now running the race. What are you doing? You're running to see which commissioner will come out. The commission is not the problem. The voting is the problem. You're putting a new commissioner there. What tells you that new commissioner can make that there is new biometric? It's the same 3 votes they will have. When you have 3 nominated commissioners from the PPPC and you have 1 chair who has always voted with the three people. So you got bigger problems. We must not be able to be misinformed and to get all this misinformation and to rile ourselves up in the wrong direction. The changes in GECOM requires a change in the method of voting. We are not having a free and fair election. And therefore, the answer cannot be to remove all the people who have institutional knowledge about GECOM. You want to remove a scrutineer like Carol Joseph? Man, you're looking for chaos. Someone who knows the entire operations of GECOM cover to cover, and can be a vital tool, can be a vital person to be used and to cooperate to ensure that our elections ills are fixed. And you want to remove them to put new fresh blood. It makes me think whether there is some other motive in ensuring that there are people who do not understand, who are fresh, who have no idea, and who will have to learn the work. And while they are learning the work, you run into an election. So by the time you run into elections, the PPP far ahead. Is there a working behind the scenes to ensure that the PPP moves further and further ahead? That is the question we must ask ourselves. Because any person rebuilding, any person building an institution will not dismantle the institution from its foundation. Because it will crumble. Everything will crumble. It is to get in and to learn the system, to work, to see, to do a proper analysis of what the problems are, and then take leadership to lead. We can do better, Guyana, and that is why our conversation tonight was about what do we do as a people? When we see everyone is doing, I would say, a fine job in highlighting the problems. How do we address the problems after they have been highlighted? That is a responsibility that you and I must take up. My solution and recommendation is that we come together. And when we hear and when we see that there is a gathering of voices for a particular cause, which has to do with strengthening the fabric of our country, we must not stay home. We must come out. We must come out. Too many injustices are happening in Guyana, left, right, and center. And very soon, as there have been little or no answers from the people in authority, very soon, you are going to see a number of initiatives, because we will not leave this alone. There are a number of things, as you have seen just a couple of days, just on Father's Day. Issues affecting our children, particularly in this case, our girl children. All of us must become concerned. And all of us must be prepared to act. Why am I saying this? Just as I feel as a very strong conviction as a son of this soil, all of you belong right here. And in the colloquial language that says, I belong, yeah. Right, yeah, I belong. Meaning, you belong here. And therefore, value yourself. When you get up in the mornings, look yourself, even if it's 1 minute, look yourself in the mirror. And to begin to speak to yourself that you have a significant contribution to make in the development of this country. And one of the things that you have to do is to ensure that democracy is alive. Right now it's dying because too many voices are silenced. It's dying. People don't have the freedom of the choice, to choose, to speak, to act. There's so much fear all over. Things are happening with people in workplaces, etc. People can't say anything. Let's fix this problem. And let's fix this problem together. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Guyanese, I continue to be your humble servant. And I continue to call on you through this program for Guyana to rise. And remember, Guyana will only rise when you and I stand up and fight.
The PNCR Georgetown District invites you to join us for a special breakfast gathering on Sunday, the 5th of July, 2026. Come and enjoy a delicious breakfast, meaningful conversations, and an opportunity to connect with friends, family, and members of our community at the NCW headquarters, located at 44 Public Road, Kitty, and begins promptly at 9 a.m. Contribution is only $2,000. Start your Sunday with good food, great company, and a spirit of togetherness. We look forward to seeing you there.
Wake up! Rise up! Guyanese people, this is your land, your gold, your oil, your future. No more corruption, oh, no more oppression, no more division. From Essequibo to Berbais, from Demerara to Leyte